Hi everybody, Alex Deploy here from Expert Forex, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the difference between volatility and trendiness. And on your screen you can see a picture showing the vibration rate of certain currencies. Now, certain currencies vary in the range that they trade on a daily basis, and here's an example. Here's a daily candle, and this particular currency might have a candle that's 180 pips big. There might be another currency that has a 100 pip candle, and there might be one that has a 40 pip candle, and that's the range that these currencies trade in. And there's an indicator called the average to range, and you can actually get an average of the daily candles or the 4-hour candles or the hourly candles or even the monthly candles using that indicator. And those readings give you the average volatility of a currency, and that's quite important because high volatile currencies give you a better chance of trading them to reach your target, whereas small volatility currencies have more difficulty reaching their target. So you would use the high volatility currencies for breakout and trending trades, and you'd use the small volatility currencies for sideways or bounce trades. So let's have a look at the difference between volatility and trendiness. So here's an example of a currency. It has a daily ATR or a volatility of 100 pips. Now that can repeat itself on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and what happens is we say this currency has a 100 pip daily volatility, but it also has a 100 pip weekly volatility because it's traded in the same range, and therefore it is not really a great trending currency. However, if you compare it with another currency that has a 100 pip candle, there's the 100 pip candle, but one that actually trends, and you can see another 100 pip candle, another 100 pip candle, another 100 pip candle, another pip candle. Now suddenly when we look at the week, we say that the week has a 300 pip range, whereas the daily has a 100 pip range. So by comparing the daily range to the weekly range, we can tell whether a currency is trending or whether it's a sideways currency. We can tell the trendiness of a particular currency. So let's start with our currency selector EA. We start with the first table on the currency selector EA, and that is the currency trendiness table. So I'll just review the columns first. Firstly, we have a column of symbols, and again those are adjustable in the settings for the EA, but I have included most of the currency crosses traded by Forex traders. Then the first column is the daily ATR, and as you can remember from previous lectures, the ATR is the movement in pips that a particular currency does during a day on average, and the average normally covers a period of about 15 days to 10 days, but you can again change that period to what you want it to be. Then we have the weekly ATR, so in other words, it's the range that the currency trades within a week. And then we have the monthly ATR, which is again the range that the currency trades within a month. And then the next two columns are ratios, and it's the weekly ATR compared to the daily ATR, and that is the monthly ATR compared to the daily ATR. And I'll explain why we have those columns, because those columns tell us the trendiness. But let's have a look at the daily ATR column first. So one of the nice things about this EA is that you can sort the currencies from low volatility to high volatility as expressed by the ATR. So this particular currency, the euro franc, only travels on average 37 pips a day, whereas the pound New Zealand on average travels 124 pips a day. So it is roughly 4 times as volatile as the euro franc. That gives you an idea of, firstly, if you are a breakout trader or with a trend trader, you would use the high volatility currencies. And if you are a bounce trader or a sideways market trader, you would use the euro franc. So that's the daily ATR. And then we look at the weekly ATR, and you can see they more or less in line. The euro franc is the lowest volatility in terms of weekly and monthly. So at the bottom here, we have the pound New Zealand being the highest volatility on a daily and a monthly basis, and the euro New Zealand being the highest on a weekly basis. And these numbers can change from time to time. Again, as I say, you use those numbers to decide which currencies to trade for sideways market strategies and which currencies to trade for trending and breakout strategies. As we learned in previous lecture, the ATR volatility is not a good guide as to trendiness, but when you start comparing it with other periods, so in other words, if you compare the daily with the weekly or the daily with the monthly, you get a feel for trendiness. So in other words, let's start with the weekly comparison. So we compare the weekly movement with the daily movement. And here we can see that the US yen has the lowest trendiness currently if you take the daily movement and compare it with the weekly movement. So the daily movement represents 2.6 times the weekly movement, whereas down here the weekly movement is 4.6 times bigger than the daily movement. So in other words, this currency is more trendy because it moves more during a week than this particular one that only moves 2.6 times. So that's how we tell trendiness using the weekly ATR. Then if you want to do the monthly ATR, and we can sort that, we find that the euro, in fact, is the least trendy because over a month the ATR is only 313, whereas the daily ATR is 67. That means the monthly ATR is 4.6 times the daily one. Whereas down here we have on the Aussie franc, we have a monthly ATR of 340, but the daily is only 43. So the monthly ATR is 7.9 times daily movement, and that makes that currency more trendy. Now, trendiness is important, as we've learned before, in that you would then apply breakout and trending strategies to trendy currencies, and for bouncing trades and sideways market trades, you would use currencies with the low trendiness readings. So these currencies, these group of currencies over here would possibly be sideways and bounce currencies, and these currencies over here would be breakout and trending currencies. So this is quite a valuable table for selecting currencies.